Hello everyone, my name is Emily Doherty-Flynn and welcome to Campus Nightly. Tonight we will discuss the tension and the worries of Ukraine and Europe as they are being sidelined, as President Donald Trump directly speaks with Russia. The current reviews of the highly anticipated Captain America Brave New World, as well as other movies to look forward to. All things sports with Farnsworth Hendrickson Jr., a hockey team turned into a full-on brawl. And finally, the woman in the Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z case drops all allegations, closing the case against the two. Lastly, we will finish up the night with a chat with the junior captain of the Browns and speech and debate team, Catherine Jones. With direct negotiations going on between the United States and Moscow, European allies and Ukrainian officials are worried that they are being sidelined by the new U.S. administration. It is currently unclear how much Ukraine will be represented in the discussions expected to take place in Rahad, but during a statement to reporters on Sunday, President Trump stated that President Zelensky will be involved. Trump also believed that Russia's President Putin is eager for a deal. At this time, who ends up at the table could change. President Putin spoke with President Trump on the phone last week, and the leaders agreed to begin high-level talks on ending the war. Initially, the agreement was that the United States and Russia would speak, but President Trump later affirmed that Ukraine would have a seat. In box office news, the highly anticipated Captain America Brave New World released in theaters last Friday and delivered $100 million in its domestic debut over the extended President's Day weekend, and another $92.4 million overseas. This is the fourth installment of Captain America and the first in which Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson's character takes the famous shield. But the reviews and audience reactions aren't very encouraging. The movie has poor marks in the MCU standards, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 51% average and a B- score on CinemaScore exit polls. General audience handed out a 3 out of 5 stars. Other big movies set to release are The Monkey, Last Breath, and Mickey 17. The Monkey coming out February 21st, starring Theo James, Elijah Wood, and Tatiana Maslany. This will be an adaptation of Stephen King's short story, The Monkey, which follows twin brothers who discover a toy that results in numerous murders. Last Breath is set to release in February 28th, starring Woody Harrelson, Simu Lee, and Finn Cole. This film will follow a miraculous true story about a famous deep-sea diver, Chris Lemons, who could survive underwater for 30 minutes without oxygen, and his crewmates who, against all odds, complete a harrowing rescue mission. Mickey 17 will start March off by releasing on the 7th, starring Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo, and Steven Yeun. This is an adaptation of the sci-fi movie novel Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. Robert Pattinson stars as a disposable employee, one whose body is regenerated with previous body's memories all intact every time he dies, on a mission to colonize a distant world. We will be back after this. You have been watching Campus Nightly.
Great drive fuels the leaders of tomorrow and today. Great vision paves the way for a brighter future. Great ambition goes places, moving onward and upward. Great empathy finds strength in kindness and in each other, working together to create something bigger than they ever imagined. Great minds can change the world. And great minds start at Seton Hall.
Now I'll hand it off to fellow producer Farnsworth Hendrickson Jr. Farnsworth just returned from New Orleans Super Bowl 59. Tell us, Fons, what was it like to be at that event?
Thank you, Emily. It's great to be back here at Seton Hall University. I had an incredible week in New Orleans where I attended the Super Bowl, featuring the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's an inside look at our trip alongside sports media student Miguel Frede. The footage showcased our exciting adventures in New Orleans, where we made numerous connections and interacted with various celebrities. This trip marks a significant achievement for Seton Hall, as we are the first ever students to represent the university at the Super Bowl. I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. If you are interested in learning how to get involved in this experience, please reach out to Executive Director of Sports Media, Bruce J. Schechter. Now, let's dive back into some sports news. On February 19th, Seton Hall's women's basketball team hosted the highly ranked UConn Huskies at Soda Walsh Gymnasium. The Pirates aim to improve their historical record against UConn, which leads the series 60-10. In their earlier matchup this season, UConn defeated Seton Hall 96-36. In the men's basketball, Seton Hall faced a challenging defeat against Marquette on February 18th, losing 80-56. This comes after a historical defeat against UConn on weekend. This leaves Seton Hall men's basketball team in an overall record of 7-19 and 2-13 in the conference. Isaiah Coleman led the team 13 points. Following the game against UConn, the women's team will face St. John's on February 23rd, while the men's team will also compete against St. John's shortly thereafter. March Madness is approaching, everyone, so stay tuned for more updates. Back to you, Emily.
Thank you, Fonz. This past week, 5.4 million American viewers watched the first best-on-best tournament game against the United States and Canada since 2016. But the game attracted even more attention after Montreal fans booed the U.S. national anthem, protesting Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian imports, and his proposal that Canada become the 51st U.S. state. Before the puck hit the ice, 3 fights started in record succession. Team USA players Matthew and Brady Tkachuk and T.J. Miller each had a fight to open the game, which the U.S. won in regulation, to clinch a spot on the Four Nations Championship final Thursday night in Boston. Matthew Tkachuk's fight-off, the opening face-off, was the fastest ever in an NHL international game, topping the previous record of 20 seconds in the 1996 World Cup of Hockey, for a fight that involved Matthew's father, Keith Tkachuk, and Team USA General Manager Bill Guerin. The woman who accused Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs of raping her when she was 13 years old has dropped her lawsuit against both men. Attorneys for the woman identified in the lawsuit as Jane Doe did not disclose the reason for withdrawing the complaint. According to court records, they declined to comment Saturday. Court records show that the notice of voluntary dismissal against all defendants was submitted on Friday. It was dismissed with prejudice, meaning the plaintiff cannot refile a suit. It comes less than 4 months after the suit was initially filed. The suit included disturbing details of how the woman was allegedly lured by a limousine driver outside the 2000's MTV Music Video Awards and was assaulted by 2 rappers at an after-party. Next up on Campus Nightly, we have a special interview with Catherine Jones from Brownson's Speech and Debate team. Stick around after this break.
Great drive fuels the leaders of tomorrow and today. Great vision paves the way for a brighter future. Great ambition goes places, moving onward and upward. Great empathy finds strength in kindness and in each other, working together to create something bigger than they ever imagined. Great minds can change the world, and great minds start at Seton Hall.
Welcome back. We are back with a very special guest, Catherine Jones, from the junior captain from the Brownson Speech and Debate team. Welcome, Catherine.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It was great having you here. So, I have a couple questions for you. What is Brownson Speech and Debate team, and why is it sometimes called Brownson Forensics?
Yeah, so the official title is Collegiate Forensics, but colloquially we know it as Speech and Debate. So it's very similar to how you would think of speech and debate in high school, except we're mostly focused on speech topics, and the type of rules and regulations from high schools differ a little bit. And so in collegiate, we're more professional and more strict with our speeches. There are a few people on our team that does debate, but everyone does speech. So I like to sometimes call us like a speech team, but our debaters are really fantastic too.
Oh, I can imagine. So why did you join, and what motivated you to join, I guess?
So when I was in high school, I joined speech because I couldn't really talk to people. I had like a lot of social anxiety. So I thought speech and debate was going to be really good for me, and it was. And I just really fell in love with it. I loved it a lot. And when I was applying for colleges, when I applied to Seton Hall, they asked me if I wanted to audition and interview for the speech team. So I did, and it was actually a really big part of my decision to come to Seton Hall was the speech team. And now I just really love the communication and advocacy portion of speech. So that's why I keep doing it to this day.
Oh, that's awesome. So I see that you're a junior captain. How did that come around?
Yeah, so we have no seniors.
Oh, okay.
So junior captain is, we do captaincy by seniority. As I'm a junior, I'm part of the most senior class on the team.
All right.
And out of my class, like, our administrator, Dr. Catherine Zizik, asked me over the summer if I wanted to be a bridge between the team members and the administration and coaching staff.
Okay.
So as captain, there's not really a hierarchical leadership role, as everyone on the team is super proactive and just such great people to work with that we don't really need that. It's mostly just a communicator between administrator and coaching and the team itself.
All right, sounds good. So I want to know why you chose the team, as you're not a major that usually goes for it. You're more biology and philosophy.
Yeah, I get asked this question all the time. You know, everyone on the team and usually people part of this community are diplomacy or political science majors. I'm applying for medical school, like currently in the application process or trying to get my application there. And with biology, I think that becoming a doctor, becoming a physician, and also just caring about the healthcare in your community itself needs advocacy and needs communicators who can effectively do that. You know, when I sit down with a patient, I want to be able to talk to them person to person and be able to tell them what's wrong and what they need to do and be able to persuade them to take their health seriously. You know? And so I think every health communicator, anyone in the healthcare profession, should be able to have these skills and be able to do speech and debate and be able to have those skills. So I think that it's actually very necessary to my career growth.
I definitely appreciate it, because I've had some times where there was doctors who said maybe 2 words to me, and then they had the nurses speak the rest. So I do really appreciate
Very
that.
common occurrence.
Yes. So my next question, how do you get involved?
Yes. So even though I was recruited from high school, honestly, a majority of our team don't come from there. So if anyone wants to get involved, we host a lot of auditions and organization interviews in the fall. Anyone freshman to senior is able to audition. We aren't a club, we're a co-curricular, so the audition process is very highly selective. So not everyone who auditions gets to make it onto the team. And anyone who wants to get involved can either email me or email our administrator, Dr. Catherine Zizik.
Great, that's fantastic. So what would you say the atmosphere is like at a tournament, and how does it go?
Yeah, I like to think of our tournaments as a liminal space, because nothing is real. You know, you're not real, what you're doing's not real. Well, it's real, but like it just feels very magical, like I'm not in the real world.
Yeah.
It's the entire weekend, so Saturday and Sunday. We go to a college in-state or out-of-state, and it's a very long tournament. Our call times are usually 7 a.m., rounds start at like 8:30 or 9, and they go the entire day, like 6 rounds of preliminaries,
that's a long day.
2 rounds of finals. At the minimum, you're doing at least an hour and a half of speaking. At the max, you're doing like 3 to 4 hours of speaking in the day.
Wow.
And it usually ends around 9 p.m., and then you go home and you do it all again the next day,
That's
so
crazy.
They're big time commitment, but they're super fun because you're surrounded by your team, which we like to think of each other as like an extended family, and you're also surrounded by other people who really care about what they're talking about and care about the activity itself.
Yeah.
So a lot of team members and a lot of people that I know from other teams like Cornell University or Hofstra University, I feel like I have like a lifelong connection with them, or a friendship that would last a lot outside of the community. So it's just a really like magical, fun space to be in, and it makes up for how long and grueling the days could be.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I have one final question for you. What would you say is the most rewarding thing that Brownson has given you?
I would love to say the communication skills that I've gotten through there, but it's really the active listening and learning. Not only are you talking about things that you really care about, like me with medical advocacy, you're listening to other people who have different interests than you and different perspectives and ideas of the world, who are talking about what they care about at the same time. there are so many different things that I would have never known about that I learned through speech that I can carry with me to my classes or just even outside into the real world, and be able to have other people who advocate for things that they are incredibly passionate about and things that they're actively working to make the world a better place. Makes you feel like the world is okay again. And that there are people out there who actually care and that you are part of something bigger than yourself that can actually make change.
That's awesome. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us, Catherine. And that has been Campus Nightly. Thank you to everyone on the crew for letting me host tonight, and shout out to Isabella Barbarino for making history tonight as the first female director of Campus Nightly. From the talented producers and the crew of SHU TV, thank you and have a wonderful night.